Wait, we're recording. We're on. Me and Liz are on. Great stuff. Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you're well. So myself and Liz are hosting this next Confident Choices webinar, and it's going to be around the subject of Compass Plus. So I know most of you, pretty much all of you, will have heard of Compass Plus. So today we're going to go through a bit of a live demo, I suppose. We've got access to a demo account, so we'll work through kind of the different functionality elements of it, which I reckon will take around 20 minutes. And then basically what I'm going to do is throw it open to questions. So hopefully we can, if you have a particular query, we can basically go into the system and try and show you that element of functionality, or at least try to do that aspect of whatever it is that you want us to cover. So I'm going to caveat this that myself and Liz, although we've done some training on it, we're not software experts as such. So if there is anything that comes up that we can't answer, we'll definitely go away and find out for you. I suppose something else to bring up as well before we start, we have been allocated a member of staff from Careers and Enterprise Company to support with the onboarding process. So if you haven't necessarily started getting on board with Compass Plus yet, please get in touch with either myself, Liz, or Debbie, whichever enterprise coordinator you work with, and just get in touch basically. And what we can do is look at seeing where you are on the onboarding process and look to try and get you on board as well. So hope that's okay. We'll make a start. I'll just share the old screen. Hopefully everyone can see that. Liz, I'm going to come to you. Are you all right? Can you see that? Is that working?
No problem. Yeah, fine.
Great. Good stuff. All right. So for those that aren't aware, Compass Plus is kind of the next level up, if you like, or the bigger system that's going to take over eventually the normal Compass and Tracker that some of the schools use. So a lot of investment into it. It is very much a tool for careers leaders. So it's not a tool for students. So I imagine there might be a few questions later on about how it links into other systems such as Unifrog and things like that. So we can potentially cover that a little bit later. But it is very much a system for you guys, you as careers leaders, to help with these things really. And it has been built with an awful lot of feedback from careers leaders as well from across the country. So the idea is that it's to support you to save time, aspects of your planning as well, to kind of make sure it can be as quick as possible. We know time is always really, really difficult, and we're always looking for opportunities to try and help us save time. Hopefully it's going to make your role a little bit more strategic and targeted. So it will show today how the system can identify different aspects of your careers program that perhaps needs a little bit of extra attention. It might also highlight some particular student groups as well that perhaps haven't had as much careers activity as some others. So it allows you to be a bit more strategic and targeted. Hopefully it's the next level that can help you monitor and evaluate your program a bit more effectively. A big aspect of this as well is about collaborating with your colleagues. And the webinar I did last time round was about trying to get individuals that are on your side, if you like. How can you create perhaps a little bit of a workforce, or how can you bring other staff members within your school to help into your world, if you like, to help you deal with careers. And there is different user accounts that you can create with this to help you perhaps set up a core member of staff to support you with this as well. And hopefully, well, it does have a functionality that allows you to build your own existing network as well. So almost like a customer management database in there that you can add in, people that work, or employers that work, come into your school and work and support the students, you can add them into your database as well. So instead of having lots of different spreadsheets kicking about, this is kind of hopefully a one-stop shop for you as well that you can use. So that's a bit of an overview, and we'll kind of just dive into the demo of the system. So this is kind of your main page. So once you've logged in, this is what you will see. So as I think most of you should be aware, that it links into your MIS software as well. So when you are going through the onboarding process, it will require them to talk to your IT manager to make sure that the two systems can effectively talk to each other. and that allows, all the data from SIMS to be pulled into this as well. I know there were some worries about GDPR and things like that previously. It has been built with that in mind. There haven't been any issues once the school and the careers and enterprise company have actually spoken to each other. There hasn't been any issues that they haven't been able to resolve on that regard as well. Sorry, excuse me. So on the left-hand side, you've got your different tabs really. And what we'll do is we'll just work through each one, give you a bit of a demo of each section, and we can hopefully at the end we can talk about how those sections are going to help you in your roles as careers leaders. So the first page is what's shown as your dashboard. So I guess this is where all the information from the other sections kind of pulls into one place, and this is kind of your snapshot overview, if you like, of your latest Compass evaluation. So it's quite interesting, this section, because you can actually, if you've done a previous Compass evaluation, perhaps 6 to 8 months ago, you can actually click that on here and it will show you how you've progressed since your last Compass evaluation. So again, a pretty good indication for you as an individual to showcase potentially your development in your careers program to your senior leadership team. Perhaps identify some areas of weakness as well. And it also shows how it's progressed, whether it's gone up or down. So it's quite an interesting section for you. Also, this is quite interesting, is when a little bit later on I'll show you how to actually add in activities into this. So the idea is that within the plan section you can create a timetable of activities that you will run throughout your year. So you might have different sessions for year 10, you might put in your work experience into there, your kind of your careers fair, all the different activities that you do in a typical school year, you can add into that plan. And it will basically show you your planned activities. So based on your planned activities that you've done or put in place for the next academic year, so let's say September, you may have 50 different activities are planned in there across the school. Based on your planned activity, it shows you how you will track against those Gatsby benchmarks. So if you were to do all that activity and everything goes well, it shows you at the end of the year, based on your activity, what your Gatsby benchmark scores will be in that area. And then it'll also show based around your completed activities. So as it happens on this particular demo, it doesn't change, but based on the completed activities, it will also show them as well. So if you're midpoint in the year, it will show you how you've tracked against the Gatsby benchmarks for that 6-month period, for example. So it really just gives you a live update, I suppose, on how your careers program is progressing throughout an academic year. So it's quite a good tool for you to help you to do that. You can also generate a report, which I'll just load up now. So again, it's quite a nice looking form that you can print off. You've got the section there to show you what it's like for planned activities. So again, it just gives you a report that you can kind of print off there as well. And another interesting section further down is because this is a national tool. Most schools now are running the Compass evaluations. So you're actually able to compare your own performance against other schools in the LEP. So you will all fall into the Greater Lincolnshire LEP. So it shows you, for example, how you're tracking in comparison to other schools. So in Greater Lincolnshire at the moment, we've got 6% achieving Gatsby Benchmark 1. And currently, nationally, there are 21 achieving it. Benchmark 1 as well. So already you're able to make comparisons that potentially, as I mentioned last time out in my webinar, you're trying to justify additional resource. Potentially it shows you a live comparison on how you're getting on against other schools in other areas. So if you are needing to gain additional support to potentially allow senior leadership team to run a staff training session around linking careers in the curriculum, this might be a tool that you can use to show that actually this is something that's needed across the school as well. Another graph we've got here, so your activities planned for the year. So again, you've got planned and completed. So in this case, we've done 23 and we've got, so we've planned 23 and we've still got sorry, we've got 23 left and we've completed 23 as well across the whole school. But you can also show, what planned and completed activity has been done for the likes of year 10, year 11. So it kind of all pulls from your activity plan, which is up here, and we'll go through that in a minute. So this is kind of your dashboard, your initial open up the system, and this is really tells you everything you kind of need to know about your provision that you've got in place at the moment. You've got tracking intended destinations as well. So again, once you know the destinations for your students, you can put them into here, and it'll show you how you're doing on the destination element as well. So again, it's a live tracking tool for the destinations within Compass. So again, it's a one-stop shop for you to show your superiors how you're doing against the destination data. Right, so we'll jump on to the evaluation section. This is only a very, very quick section, to be honest, because everyone has pretty much done a Compass evaluation, I think. So again, this pulls up and it's very much similar to your typical Compass. So, if you've done a Compass before, this will look very familiar to you in terms of doing your evaluation. And this is typically, how you would now move forward and do your evaluations instead of using the standard Compass. So as what I would say on that is standard Compass is going to be still around. They're not going to just push it to one side and discontinue it. So that's going to be there as well for schools to use. But hopefully we will start getting more and more schools getting on board with this system. At the end of the day, it's free. It's a great resource for you to use. So as you would normally do, go through Compass, and then effectively it would bring it up onto the dashboard for you as well. And then you've got your evaluation section, which again is very similar to the normal Compass. It has all the previous evaluations that you've done throughout there as well. Stop me if I'm going too quick, Liz, or anything like that. If you want to highlight anything, just let me know.
No questions on the chat so far.
Everyone's heavily engaged. I can tell. I can tell from my front room, my bedroom. Okay, so next we're on to plan.
People. I was just going to say, in terms of those who have upgraded to Compass Plus already, there's 648 schools across the country that already have done and choosing to use this now. Yeah,
so I think it's something that myself, Debbie, and Liz are going to be tasked with, is trying to get schools to come on board, with the system. We think, based on what we've seen and the feedback that we've had as well, it is really, really good. It's free. It's that next level of supporting you as careers leaders as well. So I guess this is where you would create your plan. So this is, if anyone has used Tracker previously, it is similar, but it does a lot more. So it's kind of the next level to that. And it actually links in a lot better with your Compass, as you kind of saw on the dashboard. So again, you can start planning for this year. You can also start planning for next year as well. So you've got a couple of functions there. And as you kind of continue to use this, it will also have previous year's plans. You can copy the plans across from previous years to the next year. So it is a really good tool for you to get into the habit of using. And I suppose that's the same with any system that you have, is it's only as good as the kind of information that you put in there. But hopefully it has everything that you need as well. So we'll click into this year's plan. So this is, again, it's just a dummy account. So again, similar, it's got planned and completed activities. It's also got cancelled as well. So I suppose in current climate, imagine a lot of activities has been cancelled. This would actually allow you to show anyone that comes looking, I suppose, the amount of activities that have been cancelled, based around COVID as well. So it is with the times, I suppose, is what I'm trying to get at. So here are all the activities that are planned on this particular demo school. So we'll just click into one. So we've got a CV writing class here. So as you can see, this star here is said that it was created in Tracker. So, when you actually get onboarded with this and you have things in Tracker, it will actually pull them across. So I know some of these systems, you do worry about losing all your information from the previous system. It does drag it all across into here as well. So there might be elements of data missing because Tracker didn't have the certain aspects of some of the detail that this one has, but it does pull them across. So it's a good handy one to use. So you click into view or edit. And this, if you were creating a new plan, a new activity, this is the similar sort of level of interaction that you can have with it. So you can have your title. You can put in there what's the main kind of category for this sort of activity. So there's a whole host of different things in there. So you've maybe it's a STEM-based session. You can list certain Gatsby benchmarks in there as well. Gatsby benchmark 4, is it within certain aspects of the curriculum? Gatsby benchmark 5. So there's lots of things in there that it starts to slot in against. And this is the functionality that actually impacts your Compass score on the live database, I suppose. So if you put in Gatsby benchmark 2, for example, and this is going to be a planned activity for September, it will show on your actual dashboard, that activity affecting your overall outcome against the Gatsby benchmark. So additional activities, for example, it might be information labour market for parents. You can add a staff member in here as well, if you wanted to, date, time, when it's due to be finished. We'll talk a little bit more about the groups function later, but based on the information that it has within Sims, you're actually able to add in particular groups to this. So for example, you've got Key Stage 3 pupil premium. Perhaps on your dashboard, it says that Key Stage 3 pupil premiums haven't had a huge amount of careers interactions. So maybe this is a bit of an intervention opportunity. You wanted to put something in mid-year for the Key Stage 3 pupil premium students to ensure that they are getting what they're entitled to in terms of that careers education. You can create new groups as well, but we'll go on to that later. But the idea is that all your groups will be pulled in from Sims into this. So you can start allocating groups to your activities. Further down, you can start to add in providers and employers. So this has a couple of sections. So you've got to see potential organisations for this activity. So for example, here, there is a national database that sits behind Compass Plus. So it will suggest some activities based on what you've put in to this section here, I think. That's the benchmark 2. So it will suggest some activity providers that can support you with your activity. And there is also the Find Activity Provider tool as well. So based on your location, if you click on that, it will actually bring up a database of different people that offer activities that are national. So what I would say on this at the minute is it's quite early days, so there might not be a huge amount of organisations on here, but it is something that I believe CEC are adding to all the time. So these are the national kind of providers that it takes you to. So that enables you to allocate specific organisations in there. And you can also add in, let's say, as I mentioned earlier, that you normally have a spreadsheet with all your contacts on, probably held under lock and key. It's very important on your data, on your U drive or whatever it's called at school. But here, this is where you can start to store your own activity providers. So let's say you have a particular employer that comes in year after year and runs this activity for you. If they're in the system, you can actually allocate them to that activity as well. Opportunity to add notes, and you can save it to your activity plan. And as you go throughout, you can actually start marking it as complete. So once that activity is done, you can click Mark as complete, and then effectively it moves it from the planned to the completed activity as well. So again, as you go through your careers, you can start to move your activities from planned to completed. And it also gives you an opportunity to put in potentially some evaluation notes in there as well. So they've evaluated it, they've put some activity notes in there as well. So you're already beginning to build a picture of how that event was delivered in your school. So within plans, as I mentioned earlier, you've got your groups. So again, these are all the groups that are pulled through from Sims. but there is an opportunity to create a new group here as well. So let's say, a particular group of year 7s are interested in programming, and then you can search for the pupils and add them in within the tutor groups as well. So you can search for specific students to add into that group to create a new one, if your school is looking to create a specific group for some students as well that you can add to activities. Anything else to note, do you think, on that section, Liz? Has kind of covered most things, I think, there.
I think so. I think that the fact that it goes down to that student level data and it can show these groups is really helpful in demonstrating what you're doing for particular cohorts. So you looked after children, or you're gifted, or whoever that you really want to identify, or the school is specifically looking at. I think if you're trying to tie in your careers, you're tying into the careers into the main school development plan, and you can actually say that you can contribute towards that target, main whole school target, then this is a really good system of being able to demonstrate that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good point, the way it can link, and you can identify some real target groups and drill down to that student level. So this next section down, so after you've kind of got your plan, again, the more information you put into that, the better, really, I think, is the message there. And then behind that, again, you've got your pupils. So we'll just dive into pupils. Again, this information is pulled from Sims. So we'll click into a particular student. Hopefully this one's a good example. So this is typically how your student profile would look. So the first section you've got is on the activities. So it will automatically show how that student is performed against the Gatsby benchmarks in terms of how many activities have you put in versus planned and completed activities. So it's really good to say, at the end of year 13, for example, has this student done a huge amount of activity based around each of the Gatsby benchmarks, based around what you've included in the plan. So for this particular student, you can see that they've had probably enough activities based around 5 and based around 2, but a lot of the other sections they've been lacking. So again, it allows you to see on a student by student case, what interactions have they had based, in relation to careers education. So currently they've only had 3 careers based activities on there as well. You could create an activity here for a pupil if you wanted to put something specific on there. But generally, I think the advice that we've had is that you're probably better putting the activity first into the plan and then allocating your groups to it, because I wouldn't imagine there'd be a huge amount of people organising careers events specifically for just one person, but maybe wrong. That functionality is there. Again, you can download a report. So again, at Parents' Evening, you wanted to maybe talk to the specific parents about the different aspects of careers that they've done. You can print this off. It pulls in the Gatsby benchmarks and it shows the different activities that they've taken part in as well. And then another interesting section is you've got interests and destinations. So you've got consent here for long-term tracking. So if you are able to obtain that from the student, again, might help with creating a bit of an alumni for your students and moving forward. You've got their interests in there as well. You've got a place for you can store your destinations. So again, as you saw on the dashboard, this is where to put the information to allow it to be pulled through into that dashboard. So you can make notes on Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5 as well. And then you've got your alumni contact details. So already you can start to see how this system allows you to build on your existing provision and make it easier for you to kind of have everything in one place, I suppose. And then you've got your personal information that pulls in from the SIMS or the MIS data that your system that you use. And you've also got the groups that they've attached with as well. So the last couple of bits from me. So as I mentioned earlier, you've got the find an activity provider. So I kind of clicked on that before. So that's on the careers partners section. Your careers partners page is where you can start to put in your careers partners effectively. So any people you get in for your careers fairs, any work experience providers, if you wanted to put them in there, anyone that comes in that you have contact with, really, I suppose, that supports with careers. This is, I guess, if for those that have worked in sales and things like that, this is kind of your customer management aspect or system that you could potentially use as well. So again, for example, you can show the different contacts that you've got in there. You can see whether they're taking part in any activities. So you've got here, this particular organization is delivering the Raising Aspirations one. It can actually take you to that activity as well, because they've been allocated to that specific activity that you've got in your plan. So that's quite a good tool as well. Oh, I seem to have lost my screen here. What's going on? There we go. It's got a bit bigger. Last thing I'd show you as well is the Skills Builder framework. So this might be of use. So this is something that is currently being developed. But basically what it is it's a group of employers have come together to identify key skills or a key framework that that they suggest pupils are kind of working towards. So they're based around these core competencies, I suppose. So if you are looking to potentially create a bit of a framework for a school that that you're looking to focus on some key skills throughout your curriculum, the Skills Builder Hub might be somewhere you can turn to as well. So this is something that the Careers Enterprise Company are doing a bit of work with at the minute as well. Finally, before I stop waffling, I'm just going to show you the kind of the admin section or the user management section. So as I mentioned earlier, you can actually have other staff members using this. And I spoke to one of the careers leaders earlier in the week, and she said, "No, I'll be using this. She's a bit protective." But further down the line, there might be an opportunity once you've got to grips with the system yourself to have maybe a couple of other staff members be involved with the system with you. So there's an admin. I think you can have 2 admins per school. So they basically can see and do everything within the system. You have an editor, so they can go in and I think they can add in little activities and they can kind of mark activities as complete. And then you've got a viewer as well who can actually just log into the system and view the dashboard and view any plans that you've been made, but can't necessarily edit anything. So there's 3 different user access levels, if you like. And as a school, you can play around with that as you see fit. So I don't know, you might want to give editor rights to the head of sixth form so they can go on and do things as well. There might be other individuals within the school that are supporting you as a careers leader that you want to give a certain level of access to the system as well. So, all right, so that was a really, really quick whistle-stop tour, but hopefully you're able to see some of the functionality with it. I will continue sharing my screen, but if anyone has any questions or wants me to demo anything, please give us a shout. It might be easier actually if you unmute yourself and just give us a shout and kind of explain what it is, or explain your question, or ask me to demo something, and we can see if we can break Compass Plus if you like.
Dan was just asking about the destinations data, will it pull through from the Sims to avoid double entry or Excel upload? So I've just said that we're not, I'll have to double check on that, but I might not carry across by student over the migration, but it certainly can be, it certainly should be able to upload it.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, Dan, I think those, without me being totally committal to saying it's going to be really easy, I imagine that is something that they've come across when speaking to other schools when designing the system. I think, for Lincolnshire and our destinations is an issue. So I imagine it would be quite easy to pull that across, and I'll be quite surprised if it's not. So, but we'll check that, and if we'll get back in touch with you, Dan, and we can clarify that. If anyone else has any questions or wants me to run back through something, please just unmute themselves, and I'm more than happy to kind of give you a live demo or, or look at some of the functionality. So.
Linda asked about the groupings and if you can search for activity by year group, and also if the she was concerned about maybe the actual work in terms of grouping students. But actually, if all the student making a group is quite simple, isn't it? You can just pull them across and then add an activity to that specific group.
Yeah, so for example, teaching group 7. So if you click on the manage groups section here, you can see all the groups that have been set up. So for example, this teaching group here, I think is 55 people, but no activities. We'll see what we got. Need to find a group with some activities first. Right, here we go. So we've got form 7D here. So you can click into that and it will show the different activities for that group. So you've got 4 activities there in for that particular group. And you can view the pupils within the group as well, and the number of activities that have been allocated to each of the pupils. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways you can do it. You can either create a group and then add an activity to the group, or you can create an activity and add the group into the activity. So I guess once you start playing around with it, you'll find a way that works quite well for you. It might be that you start off with, right, well, I'm going to work for my groups first because there might be a particular group that you want to target. So then you might add the activities into the group, or you might first of all start with all the activities that you're doing and then add the groups into there. So there's ways to do either, really. It's kind of a personal preference, I would suggest. I mean, does that kind of answer the question? Is there anything I've missed there? I don't know the group's in advanced list, so each pupil would have to be inputted afterwards. Lots of work involved to do this. I see what you're saying. Don't know the group's in advance. Yeah, I mean, it's a fairly quick process to, I think, to do the groups. I don't think it's a, I mean, we can have a play around now if you like. So let's do year 7 programming club. So if there's this particular teaching group, we can open up the members there. So let's say if we know they're in year 10, and then basically what we can do is just cross off the ones we don't want. So you're probably easier doing it a form at a time. So it is a bit of time just to put, to create a new group, but again, I don't think it's a huge amount of time. What I would say as well is we are planning on meeting up with Unifrog, so we know.
Also, for instance, if you look at the market entrance, those people who are having to talk with an apprenticeship provider or doing more on that side of things, or those people who are going on to sixth form and they're going on to do a different activity, or for those in the wanting to go on to college, they're going to have a different presentation. So you can differentiate. You can really evidence, especially for benchmark 3, that you're doing that, identifying the students separately.
Yeah, and we are actually having a meeting up with Unifrog, I think, next week, just to see how the systems work together, because we know a lot of people use Unifrog, and obviously, we wouldn't want people to feel that they're being overwhelmed with the systems that they're using. So there is that. They have been built, or Compass Plus has been built to work with other systems really well. So, for example, if there are aspects of this system you think, I'm going to use Unifrog for that, I think that the idea is that that's fine. We're not going to say that you should park one and not use the other. I think the idea is that they work together. Just wanted to show you this as well. I'll put this in the kind of notes that goes out to everyone. So this is the onboarding process. As I mentioned earlier, this is being supported by a member of staff. So stage 1, when you actually log into your Compass, there should be an upgrade button that appears kind of next to the tools part. Once you've clicked that, it will open up a form, and then you basically input the kind of IT manager's details, that sort of kickstarts your process really to start moving things forward. I'm not 100% sure on the time scales on how long it takes for you to get access to the system and things like that. It just depends how quickly the CEC are able to work with your IT team to get the systems kind of working together, and probably a bit of paperwork to sign and things like that as well. But I'll send this through. I won't go through it all now, but I'll send this through to you. And if you have any questions, let myself, Debbie, or Liz know, and we can put you in touch with the lady who's kind of supporting with the onboarding process as well, and we can kind of work through that with you. So, cool. I mean, is there anything else from anybody that wants to bring up? No. Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, hopefully everyone found that quite useful, even if it was quite quick to have a look at. I think the easiest thing really, is going to just to be have a play around with it when you get onboarded. It is free. We will be actively encouraging schools to get on board with it because we think it's good. We think it's a tool that most schools that we're working with will see the benefit from some way or another. Whether you use the whole aspect and its compatibility, or whether you just use elements of it, we don't feel there's any real downsides to kind of upgrading and utilising the new system. So, all right, thanks very much, everyone. We'll have enjoyable rest of Friday. Hope you have a good weekend, and actually, before everyone goes, myself, Ellis, and the team organising or have pulled together the webinar series are actually meeting next week. So if you wouldn't mind, we're looking at what we should do with this in September. We want to continue it. We want to continue to offer you webinars, but we want kind of your feedback really. What would you like to see? I have some ideas and some thoughts. I'm sure Ellis and the other members of the team will do as well. But it'd be good to get your feedback really. Have they been useful? What would you like to see in September? So yeah, if you wouldn't mind just putting some thoughts in the chat, that'd be great. Or if not, and you haven't got time, just email probably either myself or Ellis just some feedback, and we can explore those ideas next week when we meet. So it'd be great if you can just add some ideas in there on what you think would be good in September.
That's great, Alex. Well done. Thank you very much.
No problem. Staff training across a cluster group. Yeah, potentially some cluster focused ones maybe. And that's quite a good idea. We can certainly explore that. I think my thoughts as well, could we get potentially employers to do a webinar on a particular topic as well? I don't know whether we can have the odd webinar that maybe students engage with. I don't know whether that would be useful. So that's a particular thought or idea that we can explore as well. So.
Yeah, I think there'll be definite interest in that one by the look of that.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, that's good. We can certainly look at exploring that. I think you mentioned this morning when we met about you doing a lot of digging into the national apprenticeship picture. So potentially something along that lines that could be a really good topic. Thanks, Natalie, as well. So yeah, NCS ask to present their offers. So it could be useful potentially as an opportunity for third parties to promote what their offers could be to you as schools. Okay, we'll give it another minute or so for everyone to. I'm assuming a few more people are writing ideas, but we'll give it a minute just to make sure everyone gets their ideas across. All right, everyone. Well, thanks very much. We'll hold it there. If anyone has, as I mentioned, got any ideas on what this wants to be moving forward after the end of the academic year, please let us know because we're meeting next week to discuss some ideas. So, other than that, thanks very much. Hopefully, you found it useful, and we will catch up again soon.
Thank you, everybody.